Hey everyone, this is Innovator's Mindset Podcast with Jordan Beel. There we go. Let's go,
Nice.
brother.
That's a good intro.
All right, man. Okay. So this is gonna be a real short podcast because George and we have not seen each other for a long time. So we spent a bunch of time catching up, saying stuff
Yeah.
that probably shouldn't go on a podcast, and then we're gonna kind of tone it down a little bit. But I've known Jordan forever. And I should say, like, in my career, speaking, traveling, Jordan is someone I've
Mhm.
always kind of looked up to. He's really good with relationships. He's really, visionary in the work that he does. He's currently a principal. It's Western Michigan, right?
Yes, sir. And we're in West Michigan.
Is West Michigan, is there Western Michigan Broncos? Is that
That's the Broncos. They're a little south of us, yeah, in the Kalamazoo area. Yep.
there's actually like a kid. If you've ever heard me tell this story about the positive so loud and the kids are all swearing at me and then a kid comes to
Yes.
pick up for me, that kid actually went to play. His name's Dita. He actually played for Western Michigan
No
Broncos.
way.
Yeah.
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 Make the
I
positive
still,
so loud, the negative you can't hear them.
I'm still connected to that kid to this day. So Michigan
That's
is a
awesome.
very special place in my heart. So Jordan, I'm going to get you to introduce yourself, tell a little bit about who you are, what you do today, how you got there. Great place to start.
Yeah. All right. Awesome. Yeah. I'm at Hudsonville High School. We have about 2,000 students here in 912. I graduated from the school in 1999. So this is my seventh year as the head principal here. And it's been really, really fun to come back to the place that I grew up and even having some of the teachers that I get to work with now that I had, although more and more are retiring every year. But it's a special place. I have three kids. One of them, my oldest, is here as a freshman. Home of the Eagles. We're very proud of our school.
Yeah.
It's kind of a focal point of the community, and we're very local in our districts here in Michigan. So we're at the hub. This is a big point of kind of gathering and a lot of local pride for the school. So it's a great place to be. I'm really honored to be here and get to serve the community. Um, and like you said, George, I've had kind of an interesting run and back in when we met, and I was just an assistant principal, kind of a young one, and I kind of progressed through and became a director of instructional technology as well in the district that I was working in, just a little bit west of here, closer to the Lakeshore, West Ottawa and Holland. And we brought you out there, and that's been a long time. And I kind of was director of instructional technology for a time there before this job opened. So that's been kind of my journey. But I told you before when we were catching up, I still feel like I'm a social studies teacher at heart. I love to do that. I love to be in the social studies wing in our school and do observations in there because I feel like I know a lot more than when I go into a calculus class. But here I take pride in it being a lot about relationships. And I know that sounds kind of cliche and we've heard it a
Hmm.
ton, but it really is the most important thing that we can do. So, if anything that anyone that listens can glean from things that we do and things that we chat about, cool.
It's funny because I actually like, I kind of keep my eye on everything that's going on in education,
Yeah.
social media. And like there's like this like, have you tried relationships? And there's that like it's
Yeah.
almost like a little pushback, but
It's overused a little
no
bit.
staff member would be like, wouldn't appreciate a principal that knows who they are, tries to build on their strengths. So it's not about I think this is where the loss happens, is that some people talk about relationships like that is the end all be all of schools. Whereas I'm like, no, that's the foundation, right? But you
Yep.
have to build upon it. If the only thing that walks out is a kid like, oh, my teachers like me, but I'm
Yeah.
not actually any
I don't know how
smart
to read.
coming here. Yeah, then we have an issue. And I get that,
Yeah.
right? But it's like, how do you
Yeah.
bring out the best people? I'm going to ask you some like serious questions right away, but I got to ask you this one. You graduated high school in 1999.
Yes, sir.
Did you remember this year? Did you have any fear in 1999 like we were all going to die?
Yeah, of course.
Like when you say
Y2K.
1999, I would not go out on December 31st.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
well,
it was
do you remember this at all or no?
absolutely Y2K, man. Younger people don't know what this was, but it was because the zeros were going to switch back to 1900 because we
Yeah.
went to like 98, 99 and everything was going to click back and banks were going to fail and there was going to be no power and I'm sure there were people that were like stocking away food and stuff. Yeah. It's
People,
wild to
you're
think
talking to
about.
one of them. You're talking to one of them who's talking
Yeah.
about food. You know,
We
you know
sound
what I
old.
always think back on this because I thought like there was like, oh my God, the nuclear missiles. They might just be
Right.
launched because of whatever.
Duck and cover, man.
And then like we should have known like when in Australia nothing went wrong, we'd be okay.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's
Right.
like, hey, the clocks are zero there and they're okay. So
Yeah.
we got
Everything's
like
fine.
we had like
Time
a
zones.
12 like 16-hour buffer before figuring stuff out. So
It was a real fear, man, back
it was,
then.
I was terrified. That is the first like New Year's I had as a adult. I'm like, I am not going out. And I like remember like stay at home watching the TV. I was not watching the ball go down or
Yeah, you're like,
anything like
when's
that. I was
everything gonna
watching,
turn off?
yeah. So yeah, that's just when you said that. Here's I got a question for you. You are in a community you grew up in,
Yeah,
and I'm sure people. Did you ever have like did are you a principal of anyone who used to teach you? Is that a thing?
absolutely. Yeah.
Right. And so how is that, coming back? Like what's some of the great things about it? Maybe, and maybe what's like, is there a challenge to that at all? Like,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. I
you still
think
call out the teachers that maybe you're their boss by, you can't call them by their first name.
yeah. Oh, that was for sure a thing. Yeah, I've gotten over that a little bit as I've gotten older, and honestly, a lot more of them have retired now.
All right.
But I would still call them by Mr. Yeah, Mr. Signore is a great example. He just retired last year. Was one of my favorite math teachers. And his first name was Mike, and it was tough for me to call him Mike. All kids call him Sig, so I at least went, short for Signore. So I at least went to that. But it was tough. There was a lot of Mister, and they'd look at me and be like, you can call me, call me Greg now." And I'm like, "Nah, this just doesn't feel right." And
Right.
I wasn't trying to be like patronizing or like a jerk. It was just like, this is how I know you, coach. I would call my old coaches coach. So like the reason why that was great is I think there was some built-in relational capacity, even though I didn't teach or work in the district here until I got this role. There was some, oh, he knows what it's all about. Like he knows what, so that was, I think, a positive, a benefit. And then a challenge is like the other side of that coin is, um, they might still look at me like, oh yeah,
Right.
you were that kid, But I think real quickly, especially when you navigate through some challenging times, COVID, for example, I think we navigated that as successfully as we could, and we're
Mm.
brought together as a staff. I think and I did hold some leadership positions and things when I was a student here.
Yeah.
So I think there were probably some teachers that were like, "Oh, it makes sense that he's in this role now." I mentioned to you before that my father was actually a principal here at this school and a principal in a neighboring school district that's larger as well. So they kind of knew it was like, "Oh, this makes sense that he's
I
here."
didn't know. I knew your dad was a principal at the same school though.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
crazy.
In the late '80s, early '90s, like when I was a kid, he was never my principal, but
Right.
he was here too. That's why we lived in this community. So
Wow.
yeah, it's
And
kind of
that's like,
special.
when you grow up in a town, right? And I think, a smaller town in Michigan, and I don't know the area that well.
Yeah,
Sometimes it's like, hey, like I actually came back here because I don't want to change stuff. Like I don't want to do anything different. I like
yeah.
how it is. And so how do you, because I know you're pretty visionary with some of the stuff that you do, and how do you balance that where people are like, hey, we really love this community. We love the things that we've had here forever, but we still have to move forward with how we look at education and how we
Yep.
help people move forward. So how do you kind of balance that, and how do you navigate that with your staff?
That's a great question too. And I kind of mentioned you when we were catching up. We have had to navigate a really big population explosion since I graduated here. So we've almost doubled in size in student population since I was a student here. And there was always the sense that we were going to split into two high schools when I was younger because of that rapid growth. And we haven't done that yet. Instead, what we've done is, in that balance that really I think we've struck pretty well, is trying to offer more opportunities for kids to get connected. So the fact that we are a large school now, one of the larger ones in the area, means we can offer more advanced classes, we can offer more clubs. Yeah, there's only 5 kids that get to start on the basketball team for boys, 5 more for girls, but that's okay because we have esports that's robust. We have
Yeah.
robotics, we have science olympiad, we have theater, we have, band, orchestra, choir. We have so many other opportunities where students can find a place to get connected. So that's my main push at like freshman orientation is find a way to get connected because every bit of research shows that you're gonna have a better experience,
Right.
you're gonna build better relationships, and even though we're sports centered community a lot, like a lot of schools are, honestly, these days, and travel sports, sometimes it's hard for people to make that shift to, you know what, robotics is going to be my thing now, or science O, or that's how we've kind of struck that balance of like it's okay that we're navigating this growth. And as far as pushing forward, we had to fast forward in COVID to go to one-to-one. They were not one-to-one here before COVID. That forced us to do that. That changed our practice on how we were kind of operating, obviously, like everybody had to at that time. Um, and so we kind of keep building on some of those things where you're glad that you're not in that situation anymore, but also like what were the benefits of that? And I think we try to navigate that pretty well too, because it's about reaching kids and it's about trying to do our best for them and push them, challenge them, because it is kind of a community that expects a lot, but that's fun.
Yeah.
It's manning the arena stuff. Like we enjoy it. We do it because it's hard, and so it's very rewarding.
As you're kind of talking about that, I did theater as a kid and I did sports, and it's like, it kind of was like you had to do one or the other. And it's like, no, you don't. You can, you can have, I think
Yeah.
a lot of those things have actually benefited me tremendously in my work. And I often think that if I didn't play sports, I probably would have made it through high school. Right. And it was like, I wasn't a great student, but I was a better student because I played sports. But
Yeah.
there was one year that I was like, if I just failed English, I could actually play high school basketball one more year. I was like, so like, what's like the one thing I can do to screw up
Yeah.
this year? So I could just one more year of high school basketball. So anyone listening, if you can play one more year of high school sports,
Yeah. Would you
don't
do it?
fail.
You get 4 years here, and that's it in
Uh,
Michigan, though. So
okay, okay, good to know. All right, last question I got for you, and this is a little, why were you director of instructional technology? Did you go to school for technology, like, or was it you
yeah.
just had a little bit of comfort level in that area? Like, how did you become that role?
Yeah, honestly, it probably has a lot to do with what we talked about when we were catching up. It was kind of getting inspired from some of our earlier
Yeah,
year in my like meetings at various conferences, and then me sort of take and I did minor
yeah.
in computer science, so that was helpful. I had some knowledge, maybe more so than the average administrator or teacher because of that, but really it was more about wanting to embrace the role of technology in education, and then being that guy
Hmm.
that was getting called on at the district level, even though I was an assistant principal at the high school at the time, leading district trainings and being the one that was like, he can lead this training for all of our
Right.
staff or all of our administrators, and then that kind of morphing into that
So
opportunity.
you like were more of a people person that developed technology skills than like you had the
Yep.
technology skills, and then and this is why I asked this question. You and I have like a lot of similar pathways, and I was, like I trained to become a kindergarten teacher and ended up getting a high school teaching job, like
Yep.
technology. And it was like, what? And it's because I had a little bit of knowledge in the area, but a little bit at the time was a lot, except for like
Mhm.
Y2K, because I thought we were
Right.
all going to die. Other than that, I felt I knew what I was doing. Um,
Yeah.
but this like I'm curious what you think of the statement if you dealt with this. When I was like in ed tech positions, it was harder to get people because it was like you're not my boss. Do you know what I
Right.
mean? But then when you're a principal or assistant principal who has that ability, it's like now this is like, and you say it, it's a little. Do you feel it holds a little bit? I know, like we don't want to talk about like authority and boss and like, but no, there is that. It's a real thing. Like I don't want my
It
boss to be
is.
mad at me. So
Yeah.
did you find that like maybe when you moved into that role with that understanding that people moved a little bit quicker because it's like this is not coming from the ed tech person, it's coming
Yes.
from my principal.
Yes, and I wanted to like empower some teacher leaders around the district that I worked the closest with that would help, because I couldn't be everywhere and run
Right.
everything and be that guy. So it was more about trying to train up leaders around to do it. And for sure, I had people that were more willing to do that because I was like not in an evaluative role. And I had that role for 3 years, and someone else is in it now. But I will say that the thing, and I was going to ask you a question too. The thing that I miss though is in a district role,
Hmm.
where I had responsibilities in every in building in a big district over 7,000 students. Um, I felt like because I had responsibilities everywhere that I didn't really have a home anywhere, if
Mhm.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I missed being in one place. And that was when this job came open. I knew it was the right thing to do to apply to go back into a principal role away from, even though I loved instructional technology and I loved it, I missed, and maybe speaking of sports, like I missed the team aspect of being in one place. And I was going to ask you on your own podcast, what do you miss about being a principal? It's been a while, and you have a lot of success doing what
Old.
you're doing in your
Call me
yeah.
old.
Well, and it's been a while
Well,
since you've been a principal, right? I mean, how many years has it been?
I don't know. decade. We're
You
getting the
miss,
decade.
there's parts of you that miss it, I'm
Okay,
sure.
so if you when you're so like when I was listening to you, your career path, if I could go back in time, you that being the principal is way better than working in central office. But I also think you can have a huge impact on the district
Yeah.
as people like see your example, and
Yes.
then you can help them and sort them out, right?
Yep.
And so I think one of the things and I think this was something, I know your dad was a principal. I grew up in a restaurant, but there was like a
Yeah.
lot of similarities to running a school.
Yeah.
And I remember my mom and dad like getting up and like hanging out with customers and like going sit at their tables. And I was like that guy as a principal. And when I went to central office, I like would get up and go sit in an office with somebody. I'm like, this is boring. But like, I just
See
miss
more
being
action.
around students and joking with them. And, even at the time, I'm in my 30s and how does this guy know this stuff? And I know way more stuff now that they're like shocked that I know.
Yeah.
And I just love that the back and forth. And every time I get to work with students, I think that to me is one of my favorite things, just kind of,
Yep.
chopping it up with them and they appreciate that. Like I was actually, we were talking about this in Atlanta and I just like said to a kid, I'm like, I love your Travis Jordan ones. He's like,
How do you know that?
how do you know that? I'm like, I'm a shoehead. And they're like,
Yeah,
what?
you were in. You were
Yeah.
in
And
right
so like
there.
just that, and then having a conversation. And then when you're like trying to get something done, it gets done so much quicker. And
Yep.
that to me, like it wasn't about let's just talk about your shoes all day, but that was
No.
the end to get them to
The
try something.
foundation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that's where it connected with me. Now I gotta go and you gotta go, like
Yep.
it's a good time. I want to say this. I never do this, but Jordan and I double booked and I was so upset because I had to take this meeting and I said, Jordan, like, I'm sorry, but like, I didn't realize that this other meeting. So I got to apologize to you to that.
Yeah.
I didn't want you to feel I wasn't come back. So I've been snoozing your email. I'm like, I have not seen this guy. I want to connect with him. And I'm so
Yeah.
glad.
Thanks, brother.
Yeah. So I'm so glad we did because like, first of all, I felt horrible. But then secondly, I just, every time we connect, it's like we were friends before we even met. It's like one of those things that's
Yeah.
just like so cool to connect. So I hope
I
everyone
agree.
listen. Make sure you connect with Jordan, and you'll see his socials down below.
Yeah.
Dude, it's so good to see you, man. I'm
Too.
proud of you. I'm proud of all the work that you're doing, and so it's like
Likewise.
I'm very proud of. It's cool that you're following your dad's footsteps. I just
Yeah.
that like
Thanks.
it almost made me cry when you said that. That is pretty
Yeah.
cool.
It's
So,
special. I try not to take it for granted and it sounds cliche and you and I talk about relationships,
yeah,
but like that's what drives us trying to be really grateful
dude.
just that we get to do this job and make an impact. It's fun. It's energizing and it's fun and I have a great team. My teachers are awesome and I love doing what I can to serve them. And I'll leave people with this because it's my favorite quote from my dad. There are only two jobs in education. You either teach or you support those that teach. And that's kind of how we go.
It's
That's
awesome.
how we operate. So
He'd be very proud of you, my friend. He's very
thanks,
proud of
buddy.
you. So, all right. And make sure you connect with Jordan, dude. Thanks for being on it, man. Let's not wait so long this time, okay?
No, let's do it anytime, man.
Okay.
Great chatting with you.
All right. See you soon. Bye bye.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching.
Bye.
Take care.